So very first session today, we have Dennis Hassan. He's the Global Digital Fundraising Lead at World Food Programme. He has a session lined up specifically for the fundraising team leaders out there. He'll be sharing a clear framework of how to shape your teams and strategies to achieve an agile approach to digital fundraising and get the buy-in to go along with it. Welcome, Dennis. Over to you, and I hope you all enjoy.
Lovely. Cheers, Chris. I'm just going to present as well. So, okay, all good. I think, Chris, you said it really well when you were talking about the skills shortages that there is around the sector at the moment. So I'm gonna just put that into context. So I wear two hats at the moment. So half of my time is leading the digital fundraising across the world for the UN World Food Programme, and the other hat I have is I work with charities, NGOs of all shapes and sizes to audit their digital readiness across the band. So the one thing that has really upsettingly struck me over the last 2 years is that digital has not caught on in the way it needs to have done. It's caught on as a concept. It's caught on as a thing that we all need to be doing and shifting budgets here, there, but really it's not being done properly. So case in point, I at the World Food Programme, I had 3 roles going for my team as we were expanding for digital fundraisers, and I would say we pay well over the average with the UN. Guess it goes. And we had overall over 1,000 applications, and only 4 of those people got shortlisted. That's, I mean, you can all do that basic maths, really. What I'm seeing at the moment is an awful lot of strategists. Everyone knows a digital strategy. Everyone knows to say journeys, channels, integration, bam, bam, bam. We've got buzzword, bingo, left, right, and centre. But quite often, I mean, I'm, a bit of a git in interviews. I'll just turn around to someone and say, show me, do it. And the answer is, oh, I've got someone to do that for me at my current role. Or, yeah, I mean, I write a brief for my agency and then it comes back and then I edit it and then we send it back and then it goes live and then we monitor it in a month and then we change things up. And that's not atypical. And with my consultancy hat on, again, the vast majority, in fact, all, I'd say, people that I've audited recently, it is that level of understanding of a change between traditional marketing of what we've seen with traditional channels to how to really make digital ubiquitous, not make it that thing that person in that corner does, and if they do well, we'll give them a bit more money, we'll give them another person. I mean, I've seen huge fundraising teams with one digital person running an entire acquisition and retention program, and then the flip side of that is that you look at the targets and people are looking for that silver bullet because it's a few clicks of a button, right? We're not dealing with printers, we're not dealing with telephone marketing scripts, we're not dealing with TV production, we're not dealing with face-to-face, door-to-door. It's just pressing buttons, and that's what we need to get away from. And this is why, if I get a bit evangelical, you're very welcome in the chat to say a quick put a sock in it. But otherwise, do please ask questions throughout. You've got the Q&A thing, which I'm just going to keep open. If you need things clarifying, if I'm going too fast or whatever, just let me know, stop me. And if you need more detail on how it actually works, what I'm going to try and do is give you how it works in practice, because this is what I do right now. This is how I run things. This is how we changed. And it's definitely nowhere near perfect. We're going in the right direction, and I'll run you through the pitfalls that we've had, so maybe you can avoid them. I can run you through the expected hurdles of running a program like I'm going to go through now. So the one thread throughout all of this is going to be Agile. You can see I've got Agile there. Agile is something that since I was in the development game as well, it's something that I've always run. It's something that I've tried to really shift into the area of fundraising, looking at how the values and the methodologies could work. So I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that times have changed. I think gone are the times of big heavyweight agencies, gone are the times of calendars and planning a year in advance, gone are the times of having a retained agency, gone are the times of knowing in, what are we now, October, what we're kind of going to do in Christmas. You know, I remember 15 years ago when I was at Merlin, or however long it was, I think it was about then, our Christmas appeal was planned, copywritten, produced by now, and we were just sitting on it, getting ready to press go. A lot of you are sitting there thinking, well, that's really good, that's beautiful. But the reason it's not beautiful is, well, I seem to remember one time we had that done and then a disaster hit and we needed to flex and we couldn't flex because actually a disaster had hit. We'd had all our time with the agencies. It had come and gone. Everyone was sitting pretty. We were all just spinning in our chairs, waiting to press that go button. Then we couldn't press that go button because a disaster hit. And a mad scramble ensued. You know, you're begging, stealing and borrowing favors from agencies. You're seeing who can do what. And it's not the way to run. We need to be responsive. And the last 2 years have really shown that when the COVID pandemic first hit, there are a very few number of, certainly in the international space, international NGOs ready to hit go on their fundraising. Luckily, we were one of them, but we were able to get well ahead of the curve on the COVID fundraising market, and our fundraising prospered as a result. A year down the line, many big organizations still haven't got their head around it, and you know what, the boat has sailed. And if you keep doing that, too many boats are going to sail, too many opportunities are going to be missed. We're going to be running really heavyweight teams and we're not going to be making enough money. So we do risk being left behind unless we start shifting our mindset and our culture. And when I talk about culture, one of the important things is it's not the culture within our teams, it's a culture without our teams. So I'm talking about senior management, I'm talking about all the way up to the trustees, I'm talking about other divisions and departments that we have to work with. At fundraisers, we can't be an island. We need to foster collaboration, and we can't foster collaboration just by saying, "Hey guys, this is what we're doing now. Are you on board or not?" Because they'll say, "Well, sounds quite hard, so not." It takes time, and one of the most important lessons that I've learned is that it does take time, and people won't like you, and it is very, very hard to get this mindset instilled into people. So start now. When we talk about the structure of our teams, I talk about T-shaped marketers, and many of you would have heard about this, many of you wouldn't. A T-shaped marketer is basically someone that can do everything. You know what? They're not going to do it perfectly. They'll do one thing perfectly. That's the long bit of a T, and they'll do everything else pretty damn well. That's what I am, and that's what I try to build my team doing. I try to build out different specialists. The reason we do this is because if things really, really hit the fan, I can do everything. It won't, you know, it's not, I'm not going to produce a video that a DRTV agency or a video agency can do, but I can do a video. I can buy media. I can do everything. And I have a team of people that can do everything. We've all got our specialisms. So for instance, my specialism in our team is media buying. We've got someone else whose specialism is data and insights, someone else whose specialism is conversion rate optimization, someone else's whose specialism is creative. We've all got those verticals, but we can all do everything. And that means we can flex and deliver. If a disaster hits today and I'm here doing this conference, I know I've got 4, 5, 6 people that can just step in. If I've got 4 or 5 people on holiday, I know that the one person who's manning the ship can step in. And what that means is that we can run this agile methodology. It means that we don't need to be at the behest of other people. We don't need to be booked into schedules. We don't need to be ringing agencies or anything like that. We can do it ourselves. Hey, you know what? We do use agencies, but that's that really is the icing on top of everything. If we need it to really be pristine. So Ramadan, for example, was our last big campaign. We did use agencies for that. Reason being that Ramadan is a calendar appeal, only one of 2 calendar appeals that we do. We could plan for it, so we did plan for it, but that doesn't mean we didn't still do it in an agile way. So that's one of the makeups of the team, and it is very different to how traditional fundraising teams are built. You know, with I'll just use it, an old structure I used to work in as an example. We had our IG team, we had our DM people. You know, we had 4 DM people. We had our copywriters, who tended to be freelancers, and our DM people tended to be people that were just exceptionally organized, exceptional attention to detail, but they weren't functional. And that's a difference. You know what? Back in the day, I couldn't just go and print. I couldn't just go to a printer and print 100,000 lifts and letters and envelopes and the BREs. Couldn't do that. You needed someone else to do it. Now we don't need to do that. If a disaster hits today, we can, like I say, we can hit that quite hard. So I'm just I've had a go at using the AirMeet polls section. I think if someone could launch this poll for me, that'd be lovely. Agile is it's a buzzword. I know it is. People say it. People don't know what they're talking about 9 times out of 10. So I just want to get an idea, a feel for the room, what you guys reckon. I've just banged up a few options for you. What do you guys reckon? Just click away and we'll see where we land. Sasha and Chris, I don't really know how this poll ends. Okay, I'm guessing that's ended. Okay. So let's just dwell on these results a bit. Very well spread. I think, delivering projects using scrums and sprints, don't really know, less planning, just get on with it, going faster. These are answers that I tend to get from people, which is why I put them up there. But can I just switch back to the presentation, guys? Is that all right? All of the above are right. It's all correct. But I think the most important thing is that we're talking about the fact that it's an environment which makes people feel very uncomfortable because it's planning but not a plan. It's giving ourselves the tools to raise money as effectively as possible. So, for instance, I know exactly what my KPIs are for the year. We set those, and quite frankly, it's about doing whatever it takes to meet those KPIs. It's about meeting whatever the world brings to us head on and reacting to it in order to raise money. So if we think about our traditional calendar approach, here's how digital works. It's and I'll use just I don't know, Ramadan as an example. We do the planning. Lots of people work with agencies. We get it back, we edit it, we amend it, bang, bang, bang. And by the end, we launch. And what tends to happen is, say Ramadan, it's a month long. At the end of the month, we look at it and we say, yeah, that's been a success. And we always say it's been a success. Even if it hasn't, we always find those metrics which say it's been a success. And you know what? Big agencies are, they're a stickler for this. Yeah, look at it's amazing click-through rate through the roof. Oh, look at the views we got. Look at the impressions. I mean, I've even heard, people touting the great victory they've had because of the amazing metric of potential impressions. I mean, I don't even know what that means. What's a potential impression? It's just someone being born, someone owning a screen of some sort. Potential impressions is basically every adult in the world for our campaigns. And then what's happened is, if you dig in deeper, you can see that actually, did we make money? What's our ROI? What's our CPAs against these hard fundraising metrics? Long-term value. What have we done? Quite often it's not gone well. We will learn from it and we'll do it next time. What I'm talking about is not learning from it and doing it next time. I don't want people to learn from things and do it next time. I want you to learn from day one what you're going to do better on day two. Day two, what you're going to do better on day three. I want you to be launching ads, testing them, failing, learning, amending, launching, fail, launch, amend, launch. Keep doing that. And every single day, your appeals will get better. And it is really, really hard work. And this is why we need to work with people who are willing to work at the same cadence, who are willing to be partners and shift. We don't need heavyweight sign-off processes. We need real speed. So, like I said earlier, nothing I'm doing is perfect. On a daily basis, I bang my head against whatever hard object comes to mind. It's hard. People are people, I mean, we're the UN, so our people are slightly less peoply than people. But really, we can only work within the constraints that we've got, and it is imperfect. We are always going to get curveballs thrown at us. So, for instance, with a lot of our campaigns, we get one person who works in the field and they don't like something we've done, and it goes all the way up to the executive director, then it goes back down, and it goes through this angry loop of bureaucracy, and then someone tells you to take your best advert that's been your absolute banker going hard for a month. Someone says, no, I don't like that. You say, well, give me the data. Yeah, no, that's the data. Oh, don't like the look of that person that you've got in it. Oh no. And then you have to take it down. And this is what I'm talking about, the cultural mindset. But as a really, really basic list of rules or a framework, we need to get ideas and we need to get them to market quickly so we can learn without spending a huge amount. So when we're actually spending, we're spending on the things that matter. And you know what? When you find that, you press hard. So one of the main reasons for us not having a campaign budget, shall we say, is that it really does restrict us. Just got a couple of questions in. I'll just what can a digital person in the corner pressing buttons do to change the culture? I'll come on to that, and I'll come into some courses at the end. But I mean, really quick answer to that is I've never done a course. I just read a lot of stuff, but I'll find some. So, Agile methodologies bridge the gap between business value and consumer value. And what that is, I don't know why I wrote that. I kind of bored myself reading what I've just wrote there. It probably sounded good at the time, but not so much now. What I'm trying to say is that what we value as a business and what our donors value are two very, very different things. What we often value as a business is this need for strict process. And when I say strict, again, at the UN, you cannot get more strict than our process. We run like a bank on steroids. People like to feel comfortable. They like to know what's coming up. They like to come to you and say, tell me what's happening in 6 months. Tell me what's happening in 12 months. What are our 2, 3, 4, 5 year models? And our donors, they haven't got the memo on that. They haven't got the memo that, hey, Nigel, your long-term value is supposed to deliver me a return on my ad spend of 8 by year 3. Why haven't you done that? Because we're not flexing to meet that. We've got this continuous line of things which is just a hangover from how we used to operate when we couldn't be agile. We're not sprinting and learning and tweaking and engaging, and that's what consumers want us to do. Our donors want us to be relevant, and we can't be relevant. How can you plan relevance now for in 6 months' time, let alone a year? You don't know what's going to be relevant. That's what people tried to do before COVID hit. They thought they knew what was relevant. They had their little field trips planned. They knew what was going on, and then every single thing became irrelevant, and it was all gone. It was wasted because they couldn't flex. So here's a difference, and we're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty now. So I have a plan which has nothing but numbers in it. I know exactly how much money I need to raise in a year. I know roughly, I've broken that down into single gifts and regular gifts. I know exactly what target my single gift repeat giving rate needs to be. I know exactly what target my regular giving retentions and attritions and payment by payments need to be. And I know how much money I've got to spend, and I know therefore what my return on ad spend needs to be. I know therefore what my long-term value data is, and therefore I know what my allowable CPAs for every donor I acquire is, and we know what the cost per donors for our retained donors needs to be. So as you can see, that's a very big difference. I've just got a pot of money to spend across the team. I don't have anything allocated for campaigns. These days, what I tend to get on the agency side of things, or wearing my consultancy hat, what I get is, we want to do a campaign. Here's 50 grand. Here are our targets. And by doing that, you're just throttling yourself. You can't move on and learn, because if you've got 50 grand against something and you've only planned for that thing, you can't then shift it into things that are working. Similarly, if we do that with calendar events, we can't shift it. Everything is planned. The more you have definitively planned, the more points of failure you're giving yourself, the less flexibility you're giving yourself. Same with, we love our long-term retained contracts and suppliers because it gives us that safety net. I will have X amount of time with Y supplier in this month. That's unshiftable, but it is unshiftable. That's a bad thing, and we've got long lead times. So planning versus a plan. And as I've said, get your numbers and do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get there. It's a bit like having a bunch of Lego. You want to build something, you keep shifting your bricks. You want a house now. Okay, you don't want a house. You want a little car. You want a unicorn. You just keep shifting it. And it's about outcomes, not outputs. So many fundraising teams these days are still, they just get off on this idea of schedules, Excel sheets. I don't use any Excel. Don't need to. I've got dashboards, I've got results, and I've got some PM tools like Trello. Yeah, of course. But it's outcomes, not outputs. No one is judging this team on how much you do. It's how much you raise. And if your outputs are huge, if your outputs are huge and your outcomes are little, you're not doing it correctly. We need to change. Iterate and pivot. That's the key thing. It's little things that make a difference. Being static is not an option if this is the model you want to run. Data, and when I say data, I mean correct data. And this is one of the things which you're going to find the hardest, especially with Facebook now messing around with its attribution and its iOS business. Having proper data is the only way to drive a program like this, because if you're acting on data which is not 100% accurate, you're making decisions based on fallacy, which means that you're not going to get the optimization and the money that you need for doing that. You're not going to get your return on ad spend. Building the data stack has been one of the hardest things I've ever done, simply because it just hadn't been done before. There was no one to steal it from. I don't like thinking for myself. I like other people to have done the thinking. I'm not an early adopter, so it was very hard. And we went around quite a few laps of the roundabout before we hit on where we did. Again, it's still not perfect, but it gives me what I need in real time, almost. That's what I want. I want to know what's going on at all moments of the day. So this little box at the bottom, less luck. I don't like to be lucky. I'm not really lucky, I never win at any kind of gambling. So I certainly don't want to be gambling with my my organisation's money or any money that my clients have. So the implementation is very hard. That's not strictly true. It can be easy. It can start off easy and it gets harder. It depends on your people. If you have difficult people, it will make it difficult. So how do you do it? You have conversations, and you start having those conversations now. You show people the benefits to them. For instance, communications teams as fundraisers, there's always a bit of niggle, right? So we need content. They provide us content. We need it quick. They don't want to provide it to us quick. What's the advantage of them providing it quick to us? What's the benefit? Let's bring them on board. Let's empower them and franchise them into our target so we can share in the successes together. I love it when people from communications teams come and say, how much money did we raise? Is that done well? Talk me through it. Show me some graphs. And as soon as they start getting into that, it's great. We need to get past this idea of hippos, which is the highest paid person's opinion, because that's what really derails us. We need to start looking at hard data and learning, and we can only do that if we've implemented our data correctly. So we do have a problem in attribution, which is another topic for another day, which I can again happily rant about, and feel free to ask me questions about it. But our good friends at Google and Facebook aren't really friends of each other, which means that you get a donation and they're like the vultures. Everyone's scrapping over it. Is it organic? Is it my Google ads? Is it display? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? You can have one donation and every channel's claimed it, depending on what attribution model and what window they're running. So we need to change that. We need to develop things that pull in our data so that we can accurately monitor it. We can't just be running off Google Analytics. I mean, good start. Can we grow with Google Analytics? Not really. It's very hard. Can we go just in platform analytics? Again, yes, but it depends on our investment strategies. If everything you're doing is up through Facebook, then yeah, for sure. If you're mainly using a Google grant as your paid search and sinking your paid dollars into something like Facebook, sure. If you're running fully paid models across 3, 4, 5 different channels, then you need to know what channel is performing at what point, so we can start shifting those budgets. And that means we need to run things like data warehouses. We need to have business intelligence tools. We can't get this off razor's edge. Salesforce won't just give it to us. None of the CRMs will do it, because they're CRMs. They're not solid reporting stacks. We need to start moving that. So that's where our investment needs to go. Get your foundations correct, because unless your foundations across things like data, things like content, things like tech, without that strip of foundation, nothing in this methodology works. In fact, nothing in any methodology works unless that's all sorted. So your first dollars should be spent on your foundations. Yeah, it's not going to make you money, but if you don't do that, you sure as hell will lose money if you just start doing tactical. So here's some little arguments that I've often faced. My organization wants an annual plan. They don't want to run in this way. They said it's all very well, but they still want this 12-monther. We can do that. And what we do is we operate in grey areas. We're not definitive. We say, here's a list of themes that we're going to explore. And we say, we want to test them, and we want to have the flexibility to test. We don't want to be bound in. And if we explain it in terms of the bottom line, people get it. We have very stringent approval processes. Someone from every department needs to look at something 7 times, and it'll take 2 months. It's very hard, this one, but they need to do better than that. They need to understand what working like that looks like. And quite often what I've done is said, okay, well, the only way we can do that is I'm going to try and do every bit of thinking up front. So here's a huge tome of things you're going to have to sign off, because I'm trying to read the future. I know it's what I've been saying we can't do, but the reason I do that is because it shows them, hang on, I'd actually rather do it the other way. I'd actually rather be having it little by little, which is what you said. Let's do that. Show them the other way, and it kind of works out. Our content teams need tight briefs with long lead times. We need to, again, make briefs much richer. If at all possible, try and get your own content. This is what I've not managed to do yet. So that's the gaping hole in what I'm doing is my content strategy. So now what I try and do is just put out a lot of briefs. I've constantly got briefs going out, trying to cover every eventuality, but it does mean we're a little bit exposed for something that I need tomorrow that might happen today. What tends to happen in our organization is when people do see that need, though, you can boot them into action. So it's just gets a bit of grumbling. We don't have much collaboration with other departments. Again, totally hear that. People aren't giving us what we need. Well, we know what we can start doing. We can start using what we have in different ways. So no content in my eyes, unless there's, something beneficiary based, which means that we can't use it or consent's been removed, that kind of thing. We can start using things in different ways. We can go into our archive. We can think of creative ways. We can animate things. We can infographic things. We can use audio stronger. We can use different crops and different cuts on different videos, on different images. We can exhaust what we have available while we're waiting for people to give us things.
Dennis, I hate to stop you in your flow.
No, it's all right. It's the last page anyway, so I'll just leave it there for people to absorb. I've said it all.
Brilliant. No, I really enjoyed that. I think you're a man after my own heart. I often tell my team, marketing's the job you can get wrong 90% of the time and still be right. And really enjoy the sort of failing forward aspect of everything and the learning side of things as well. I just want to make sure we get round to the questions. So obviously got one before we've got a couple in there now. If you've got any more, please do add them in. But the first one is, what can the digital person in the corner pressing buttons do to change the culture of our organization and get more support?
So on that one, it's money talks, right? If people want you to make money, they need to empower you to do so, and you need to make it very, very clear. I mean, this will go nowhere without senior support. So it's working your way up slowly. Get your line manager involved, then they'll get the head of involved, then they'll get the director involved, and it can be so slow, and that is just a sad thing. This is a very alien way. There's so many people in very senior roles who are used to a very different methodology, and I understand it's a very uncomfortable thing. It feels like the Wild West, but it only feels like the Wild West because they don't understand it. Help people, show them. I've had people sit next to me. I've shown them how my dashboards work. I've shown them how I make decisions. I've shown them how the team work, and people get it. They do get it. It doesn't take a short amount of time, and your name might be mud for a few weeks, but they get it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a journey, and I think you've got to find the quick wins and the low hanging fruit to start with, and keep growing that until it bears some more. Essentially, totally agree with that. And just quickly on the last question before we have to move on. Any good recommendations for courses, or you said you do a lot of reading? Any good recommendations of publications to follow?
I read every marketing blog out there, every digital blog. So things like this, Smart Insights is great, but I'll tell you, I'll think of a list and I'll send it through to you guys, and you can maybe scatter it around. I can't think off the top of my head.
Brilliant.
Too many
it's no worries on the spot, but that sounds great. We'll compile a list and share it afterwards.
Jason's just sent one. Shifting all culture isn't just about having conversations. Also often there's attention between FR and comms, brand purists, and income generation. That is correct. How has Dennis approached these tensions? Politically, I'm not the most savvy operator. I get other people to do it for me. Otherwise, I just really, really annoy people because I just bang on at them for a long time. But it's people need to understand why we're doing this. And the brand and income generation is something which will roar on and on and on. And quite often, it comes down to the fact that we've got data that shows you don't have to like it. Yeah, fair enough. It has to comply. We've all got our brand guidelines. You don't have to like it. Our donors have to like it. It has to give dignity to our beneficiaries, and it has to work. And beyond that, it really is a job for two directors to go head to head on, really. And this is why if we get the buy-in for the people that are closest to us that can make those decisions, that's not me at the World Food Programme, but I've made sure that the people that need to be able to do it are tooled up completely and can have those conversations. As you can expect, Jason, it doesn't always go that way, and sometimes you just grumble into your coffee.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
this is why I don't get any good content when I want it.
I think it comes back to the old adage of, building digital through the core of your organization, not having digital within teams.
That's right.
And starting that way instead of starting sort of satellite in, sort of inward out is probably the right way to go, to be honest.
Much easier at smaller organizations who've got more startup mentality.
Very hard at the UN, I imagine.
Yeah, something like that.
Awesome. Well, Dennis, that was amazing. Thank you very much for your time this morning.